Yo, what is good, Moody?
What's up? What's up, Samson?
Not much, man. Episode 14. We're late, but we're on time if because we black people.
It's a block. Yeah, it's a
But
time block that you're expecting us, and we're in that time block, so I don't mind.
it is October. We're a couple weeks away from Halloween. Um, and it's still nice out. It's like gonna be like 80 degrees today. So
I mean, it has still been like when I went outside the other day, I noticed I had my hoodie on, and it was just like one of those days when it's like, all right, this is too much for a hoodie because as you're walking around, it's just immediately I feel my pits start heating
yeah,
up. I can feel the dew, you know,
yeah.
and it's just like, all right, it's too cold for me to not put something on my arms, but it's too hot
It's,
for
yeah,
me to
it's
keep it
right in
on.
that balance. It's right in
Yeah,
that balance. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of like perfect weather for me because again, it's like, all right, it's not too hot, but it ain't too cold.
right.
That this is just perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like you could still go outside with like a hoodie and shorts and some slippers and be like, yeah, this makes perfect
This is
sense.
still fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, we got some Percy's. Yours seems a little bit more intellectually robust enough
Yeah,
that we got a special guest, a
yeah,
first one ever.
too robust for me, honestly. But hey, you got two champions, so I got two Percys. I'll just put it under one tab. You know what I'm saying? But we gonna
Yeah.
go to our futuristic space correspondent, Josiah, who is right here.
Oh, y'all are
Hey,
too. Hey, what is up? What is up? What up, peoples? How's it going?
what's going on?
Not much, just living, thriving, and everything.
So introduce us
So,
to your Sunday Percy. Are you familiar with the Sunday Percys?
but hey, wait, what's today? Today's Sunday.
No, it's not. See, no, it's just the way the pod works. That's all.
Got you. I'm
We
like,
start
wait.
Sundays ain't the start of the week, so we start on with like
Okay.
what did we like about last week and just bring something personal of interest that we wanted to
Okay.
talk about.
Got you. Got you. Okay.
Oh, Samson, at this point, could you bring up the webpage for James Webb Space Telescope?
The wiki.
Yeah, the wiki. We'll have
Yeah.
you talk about that. And then there's like some images and stuff. And I'm honestly most excited about Starship, his second subject. But yeah.
Okay, so first gonna get started with the James Webb Space Telescope. It's been in development with NASA. It's actually out in space. It's in one of the Lagrange points, which Lagrange points are points in space where the gravitational force between two massive bodies kind of balances out, equals out. So it's way out there between us and the sun, and it's not going to like move or anything like that in space. Like no gravitational force from like either the Earth or the sun will like affect it or pull it towards one or the other. So it's just chilling out there, and it's kind of a replacement for the Hubble telescope. The Hubble telescope was sent in like the late '90s, size of a school bus, and that's actually in like a low Earth orbit. So we could actually send astronauts to fix or upgrade the Hubble as needed. The James Webb, as of right now, we can't do that because it's so far out in space from us that we just don't have the technology or resources to send man out there. So it's kind of there, just out there and everything like that, the size of like a tennis court and everything. When it was first launched into space, like 11 hours of NASA aligning the mirrors and testing the cameras, it already shattered what we knew of like space. Like Hubble, we were pushing its limits with its famous deep field view, which it took Hubble 11 days focusing on one spot, 11 days. And what we got back as the deep field from Hubble, the James Webb Space Telescope, and 11 hours of NASA trying to align the cameras and test the sensors and cameras already shattered that and everything. There's 2 points on the Hubble Deep Field where there's a galaxy in front, and we astronauts and well, not astronauts, but like scientists and astrophysicists thought that this one galaxy, and then there's like two faint objects on the side of it. They thought those were two distinct galaxies. The James Webb Space Telescope said actually that's one galaxy behind another galaxy. We're just seeing it gravitationally lens behind it.
Could you bring up the other picture? There's a Google search that has like the actual picture that he was talking about, the James Webb Deep Field, which is, I'm sure you've seen this picture before. It is mind blowing just looking at it.
Which one?
I think the first one.
The first one, yeah.
So that image is like the colorized version of what we got back from the James Webb Space Telescope. The James Webb Space Telescope is an infrared telescope, so it sees in the infrared. So this telescope is seeing galaxies that we can't see within the ultraviolet spectrum. So this telescope is seeing stuff that's so far away that the light's been traveling for so long that it's been redshifted. So this image at first was pretty much red when NASA saw it, and then of course they colorized it. So everything that's like kind of like warped and like looks kind of weird is gravitationally lensed. And that's what Einstein theorized was, once objects in space get so big out there that they can actually bend the light of other distant objects, behind it and everything. So black holes kind of do this. Our sun has done this. I think the first time Einstein's theory of gravitational lensing was actually put to the test and confirmed was in like probably mid 80s, early 90s when we had space technology. There was a solar eclipse, and we knew that during the solar eclipse there was going to be a star behind the sun. And during the solar eclipse, they were looking at the sun to see this one star, but it appeared in two different places behind the sun or next to the sun. So that kind of confirmed Einstein's theory of the gravitational lensing and everything. So the James Webb Space Telescope, it's breaking records. We're learning a lot about early formations. I think it was last year. It spotted a galaxy that formed pretty rapidly after the Big Bang, and we had no idea that the early universe could produce a well-formed galaxy, about 200 million years after the Big Bang and everything. So, it's up there.
And then for Percy Part 2, we got Josiah with the update on SpaceX's Starship. Back to him. And that's a YouTube video also.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I got Elon Musk, everything aside, controversial of whatnot about Elon Musk. His space company, SpaceX, is really pushing the boundaries of what humanity can do out in space. Like, there have been NASA's sole, like, I don't want to say suppliers, but suppliers and producers of rockets and capsules that take man to the International Space Station, our own astronauts here in the United States for probably the past 4 or 5 years now. They've been sending astronauts and everything, and now they're working on what they call the Starship. And Starship is the most powerful rocket and shuttle, if you will, that humans have produced. This will take us to not only the moon, but to Mars and to like probably the moons of Jupiter and beyond and everything. And just like SpaceX with their Dragon and Falcon rockets, these, are reusable. So just think, within our lifetime, give it like 20, 30 years space travel, like these things can land back on Earth, they can land on the moon and be reused. Think about, in the future, Elon Musk is already, talking about using, starships for Mars and having, a starship out in like an orbit between Earth and Mars and, for refueling. Like, that's we've mastered refueling here on Earth with our fighter jets and everything like that. That's crazy to think that we could be doing that in space.
Yeah, because that's the first thought to have. It's like when you talk about even just going to the moon and you watch just even moon movies. Like I forgot what space movie I just recently watched, and they talk about like, oh, if we do X amount of things, even if we divert off the path, even just like a mile, like that's gonna mess up our entire plan, and we don't even have enough fuel to even get back. So to be like, yeah, we can go all the way to Jupiter and its surrounding moons, and then still have a way to get back. It's just like what?
Exactly. Like, and the crazy thing is, like, of course, NASA, they got kind of screwed over by Congress when it came down to the shuttle program. The shuttle program was extended through Congress. NASA got secured the funding, but Congress kind of on the sidelines was expecting NASA to produce what SpaceX has produced with their starships. New rockets, new capsules, or shuttles to take man back to the moon. And when the space shuttle came to an end, Congress was kind of like, so where's, the new stuff? And NASA was like, what do you mean the new stuff? You only give us funding to keep the shuttle program, going. Because the shuttles, they were old as hell and everything like that. They were old, getting raggedy. They served their purpose, but for, the ambitious stride to go to the moon, which we haven't been since like the mid 70s and everything. We haven't been back, and that's not, an easy task and everything like that. Like, imagine the manpower, the money it took for Kennedy and like the other his vice president afterwards to take on that effect, and that was in the 60s.
Yeah.
To secure the funding, build the rockets and everything. Well, at that time, NASA was on Hitler's rocket program. Is essentially where like the heads of NASA, all the scientists came after deflecting in World War II as they saw Germany not winning the war. Werner von Braun, who was Hitler's head of rocketry, became the head of NASA after him and his team deflected. So we had the manpower, we had the will and whatnot behind it, but Starship's gonna take us there.
And this video that we're about to watch, this is test flight 4, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And this was just 3 months ago when he showed me this, Samson. I was like, bruh, I ain't gonna lie, I got goosebumps watching that shit. Where I was like, this is almost scary. It's so inspiring. Like watching this video.
Was this also because I remember hearing around like the area that at some point at like 5 in the morning you can see like a spaceship or a rocket ship just kind of like crossing country. Was this it?
So this one is from Texas. That's where SpaceX is mostly headquarters. Here in Virginia, NASA does have a testing site off of Wallops Island on the eastern shore, and SpaceX does send like their Starlink satellites. They do send like other low orbit satellites and like testing gear up from Wallops Island, so we can see rocket launches from Wallops Island here in Virginia. But just like this video of like it breaking off, like the first stage breaking off and everything, it's just like this is what's going to get us out into space.
Even the fidelity of these cameras, it's like
exactly
like the GoPros on here is just like what?
And here it is, them testing the landers, the landing mechanisms on the main stage rocket.
That looks like a CGI, like a video game.
It does,
right?
It does. And to think that this, SpaceX, they are like their ships and rockets that they use to send our astronauts to the International Space Station. Elon Musk can land those rockets on like pads probably no bigger than this room, on like in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, we just saw it too.
And everything. So not only can the first stage rocket land back on Earth, but the shuttle itself can land and propel itself back, lift off and everything. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah, me and Moody have talked about before, in general regards about, they say like, oh, we only know what 10% of the ocean, right? And it's like there's so much, and you see Finding Nemo, and you see all these weird fish with like light bulbs, and it's like, what? Like, how does that even exist? And it's the same aspect of going into space, right? It's like it's so much that we don't even know, and the fact that we are able to get to this point of human evolution, we're able to be like, yeah, we're finding out more in Discovery. It's a crazy thing to kind of see. Two questions. One specifically for you is and I think I might have an idea because you said we a couple times. Is this like career like knowledge that you have into it? Like, are you like a scientist in itself? Are you like deep into this as like a profession or a career? Or is this also just like I'm just a super nerd about space and like rockets and stuff. So this is also personal interest.
So for me, it's mostly personal. My educational background, I have an associate's in social science, plan on going back for history. I'm a huge history nerd.
Hmm.
So for me, it's really just a personal hobby. A little backstory: I was 6 when the first. I was actually telling Moody a couple nights ago. So I was 6 when the first Halo game came out, and I played all the
Yeah.
Halo games, and that's what really got me into space and everything like that. And also growing up, my mom was a single mom. We lived with her parents and everything like that. My grandfather and her had a love for space, for space and astronomy and everything like that. So I pretty much grew up with like an understanding of astronomy and everything like that from my grandfather. So I've just, have taken on to it. And for me, seeing, our species progress and push the envelope of, space exploration, it brings me hope, for the future and
Hmm.
everything like that. Like things might be shit here on Earth and the, the current political climate of today and everything. But it just gives me hope that, there's hope that we could escape this Earth and explore and, settle and everything like that. Because, I really feel, looking around, in history, I really feel like, humans were meant to explore this, space and everything like that. I really feel like
Hmm.
there's something in all of, older civilizations. You look at the Chinese, the Japanese, the ancient Sumerians, the Incas, the Mayas, all these other cultures and civilizations, even African civilizations and cultures, that they all say that, their origin started with beings coming down from different star systems. So, and it's it's just interesting. It's like that part is overlooked, and it's like, no, I think we should be looking at that. Investigating this stuff and seeing why do all these cultures and civilizations say that what we know as them today or historically came from other beings from different star systems. So
Yeah.
I've just been interested in it. So it's a little side hobby that I have and everything.
Ah, that's dope. Like I said, like I heard weird. I'm like, okay, it sounds like this might even be like a career aspect of it. But I'm like, you could also just be super into it, and that's
Mhm.
really dope because it's again like there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and like everybody like, oh, sports and this, that, and the third. And we
Yeah.
talked about this with our Percy's. It's like we got to get out of our bucket of just talking about, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this sports game or I'm looking forward to this TV show, and so. This was
Mhm.
really dope. The other thought that I had, and this is kind of getting back to the Elon Musk of it, and not so much the political part of it, but more so of just Elon's track record. Um,
Mhm.
I think this is really cool, and it's great to hear that like the actual like technology actually works. Because one of my problems with Elon, as far as like the things that he puts out, a lot of it's prototypes. You know what I'm saying? Like you could even look
Mhm.
at the little robot concierge thing that he released the other day, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
in his cars, Tesla, and everything like that.
yeah, so, like and, like, he talks about the hyperloops and things of that nature, so a lot of it's, like I like the thinking behind it, and I'm not necessarily putting, like, all of it on him because there's obviously a
Mhm.
whole entire industry and, like, scientist groups that help get us to this point. I just hope that, like, either through competition or through just better application of their work that we kind
Yeah.
of move out of the prototype phase into something
Mhm.
that's actually, um realistic. Not I guess realistic, but something that just feels uh not a first draft and something it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we stress test this and like,
Mhm.
we feel comfortable about putting this out in the market.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally understand that. Looking, I can even say, look at Boeing and what happened this past summer with Boeing. Their first manned mission to the International Space Station, the capsule that the astronauts were in, no sooner it left, like it's leaving, going up in the Earth's atmosphere and everything like that, heading towards the International Space Station. NASA and Boeing knew there were issues.
Mhm.
these astronauts were only planned to stay on the International Space Station for a couple of days, like no longer than like a week. They're now coming back in February. Boeing and NASA had to detach the oh god, I think it was like Star Cruiser or Starliner or something. One of those. It's like I think it was called Starliner capsule off the International Space Station because there was issues with the thrusters on it, and they couldn't safely bring back the astronauts in it, and they kept on delaying it, saying, "Oh no, we'll be able to get them back, this week." Kept on being pushed back. They essentially ran out of time to where the astronauts would have, I think it was like enough oxygen or something to bring them back safely. So what ended up happening was, NASA and Boeing decided to detach it and crash land it in the Atlantic Ocean and retrieve the capsule. What ended up happening was SpaceX was already slated to send astronauts to the International Space Station in last month in September, and those astronauts aren't slated to come back until February. So the Boeing Starliner astronauts aren't coming back until February, when the next Dragon or Falcon mission is set to bring back home those astronauts.
Wow.
So Boeing can't get their planes right here on Earth, and their second mission to the International Space Station with, an actual crew. This is their first crewed mission, failed. And yet we have, SpaceX, who's been sending astronauts for years now to the International Space Station with no problems. So I do get it and everything like that. A lot of it, with SpaceX, because Flight 5, the next flight for SpaceX for the Starship, it's ready to go. It's sitting on the launch pad, but the FAA isn't giving SpaceX the clearance for it. So by the time they get the clearance for Flight 5, Elon is saying Flight 6 will be ready to go. So, they're constantly testing this stuff, but in a couple of years, this is what's going to take man to the moon and everything. And we're, going to start building settlements on the moon and everything. They're retiring the International Space Station. I was telling Moody, starting in 2026, the International Space Station, all astronauts are leaving. And NASA is going to start what they call evasive maneuvers and slowly crash land the International Space Station in the Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo, which is the most distant point on Earth in a body of water from any landmass.
Yeah, the most remote.
The most remote. So that's where the International Space Station is going to land. And then they're already planning, thanks to, the Starship, building settlements on the moon. So in our lifetime, we'll be a moon and space, bearing species.
What a time. What a time. I'm thinking about Xenon and all these other kind of space movies. I literally watched a movie, I think it was like last year, called ISS, where it's just like, these like Russian and American astronauts, they get stuck up in the ISS, and then there's like a global like war down on Earth. And so they're just like, all right, like we gotta things get figured out. But it's crazy to see. It's cool that we're taking advantage of these opportunities to kind of, put our, human evolution to, to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm like you. I'm like, what are we here for? Like, what are we doing without progress, right? It's like people want to be stagnant and just be like, oh, like we should just keep it like it was in the 80s or the 90s. And I'm like, bro, it is 2024. What do you mean?
Exactly.
Stacey Correspondent Joe, you got anything else? You want some socials? Drop your socials on here for people to follow you? Or...
Yeah, I'll be streaming on Twitch. I'm a huge Battlefield player. Been playing Battlefield since Bad Company 2. So, the Twitch is my_baked_potato. I'm trying to stream a little more, consistently and everything like that. But if you want to see some outrageous Battlefield gameplay, hit me up. Just come in the stream.
Hey, bet. I need to pick up just video games back in general, especially Battlefield. Those games are really dope. But yeah, and by all means, you're more than welcome to come. You're no longer a guest. You officially got house rules, so you could just open up the.
Thank you. I officially created this segment so you could talk about this.
Thank you. I'll find more stuff to
This is definitely a new subject because this is way longer than a Percy. This is the longest Percy ever.
This is the longest Percy to the point where, like, this is no disrespect, but, like, we're just going to have to cut my Percy short because then it's like, oh, and Samson, what are you about? Well, I'm just looking forward to the Ravens Commanders game tomorrow. So.
Yeah. How am I supposed to follow that shit up?
Yeah, I can't follow that stuff up. We gonna just start the show from here.
All right, let's get it started.
Thank you.
So,
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
with a crowd with yowls, how was behaved.
This is the French Fries Bro. One movie off the top rope. This is the Wrestling Rehab Podcast.
Weekly stroll, the avenue of wrestling. I'm picked up. We got a comment saying it's echoing real bad.
Yeah, that was like over 15 minutes ago, and I was like, "Oh well, ain't nothing I can do about it."
I heard
He's
a
already
little
in the
bit
middle
of
of
it.
it.
I heard a little bit of it, but I think it worked out.
Yeah,
I hear it. I still hear it. Do you have headphones on?
I do not. I told you my headphones died because the case is in flux somewhere. But I found the resale exchange. That was the name of the place you recommended last time. So they got a little, charging cases only $58. So it's in transit. But yeah, we doing a speaker episode, a ghetto
You gotta
episode
get
on the
some
side.
alternates too, some wired ones, just in case for situations like this.
Yeah.
You gotta think about the audience, Moody, or the lack thereof. But eventually. Well, what's up, man? We back for episode 14, Wrestling Rehab Podcast. We got Bad Blood recap, pretty all right week of wrestling, and another pop-up show and AEW WrestleDream. So we can get it started.
What the heck?
With we'll get started with the Bad Blood recap.
Yeah.
Go
For
ahead.
whatever reason, I don't know why my computer just crashed, and I don't know why it's not giving me my, chart or anything. I need to restart it. But what's easily presidential, and we know we agree, is the Hell in a Cell match. Like, just making it relevant again. Not, the whole build is exactly what we want when you have a blood feud for the sake of a Hell in a Cell versus having a Hell in a Cell and throwing a feud inside of it. You know what I mean? And boy, just the toolbox to the head. I'm sure you saw the pictures of Drew's head. Yeah. That shit was, I think it said 16 stitches or 16 staples. I was like, yep, I believe it. Yep. I was like, damn. So
that's like right where my part is when I get my braid.
Right. Yo, the Irish curse backbreaker onto the steps, giving that to CM Punk. I was just like, oh.
Even just Drew trying to do the Claymore and then missing and then landing on the edge of the steps. It's just like, oh,
yeah.
Jeez. And the thing that really got me the most was the table, when they had the table leg up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's where I'm like, can y'all just put that down? I'm just like a worried parent. I'm like, oh my God, just get away from it.
And then, because there's part of that when they first start doing that, or when Drew is, or CM Punk is trying to thrust it in his throat. There's a piece that's
it's almost
a sharper angle that comes down right next to Drew's head, and it's like, that was almost a scary I don't know, that was a scary are they working that good, or is it just luck is nothing but residual planning? You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, oh, clearly they play in the spot, and then CM Punk, as he's doing it, he's like, oh, well, fuck, it almost looks like I stabbed this guy in the eyeball, but it's just didn't plan for that. But
so that's easily for you presidential.
Well, yeah, I think the easiest thought for me when it comes to presidential is is it a match of the year candidate? No hesitation, in which, yes, it absolutely is. So yeah, it's presidential for sure.
Okay, I'm not doubting it. I think right now at the moment I probably would have it top shelf, but that's just because I need another rewatch.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not presidential. It probably would be my first presidential. I just need to give it a one more look through to be like, all right, yeah.
With that being said, I also haven't rewatched it yet, so this is all in the moment as I'm watching it. I remember just the entire time. Oh fuck!
I mean, like I said, we talked about it with the blood and guts match. with AEW when they had their whole, super violent match, and it's like, okay, I get some of this stuff, and I get in regards to the difference in violence, right?
Yeah.
There's parts of it where I was like, okay, WWE, this is still feels like a normal, a scripted batch of violence, right?
It's work.
But
it's still work. Yeah.
it still felt workish, but it didn't feel exaggerated. Like that steel box to the head, I was like, oh, that was legit. That was legit.
Yeah.
He smacked him with it, and even in the moment, like I don't know, like that was Drew getting cut up was true. When CM Punk ended up bleeding, I don't know how it happened. Maybe he just grazed himself on the steel cage, and he did it enough so he could get a cut. But I'm like, that one I could see Punk maybe blading on that, or maybe just like intentionally cutting himself off the steel cage, right? That shot that Drew took from the toolbox, if you can even look at that, that's a toolbox that's like in a pickup truck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It had the ridges and everything on it. So I was like, that ain't no play toolbox. That joint is real. And he smacked the hell out of him with that joint.
Yo, shout out to LA Knight. That was some real blunt force trauma. that was blunt force trauma as a toolbox to the head. And even just to making the violence comparison, it's like, yeah, when it calls for it, like you can take it to another level. Because I would say, I mean, I don't believe that AEW is just blood and guts or blood for the sake of blood. Like it can be sometimes, but like you said, when executed correctly, we're talking about the two best feuds of the year. It's Hangman and Swerve and, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And they are just like, I would say this is just as comparable level of violence, you know what I'm saying, to their match that they've had. So it's like, they're right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Again,
as far as violence execution.
I think there was just less gimmicks in the violence. The violence felt more organic than like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pull out a staple gun and just staple you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's like one of those kayfabe weapons. Like you pull that out in SmackDown versus Raw 2005, and you're like, all right, what am I doing with this guy? It's like, oh, you just believe, like you understand the concept, but it's like, all right,
like you gotta like, I get what you're trying to get across, and then all right. Let's.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, I want to move on. I guess this would be my other Percy, or not? It's not my other Percy. We're already here, but you got your win finally for Black Blood. Yeah, you forgot that. You're my champion of the week. There you go. You're my champion of the week for winning.
Like I said, what was Idris Elba's name in goddamn Wire?
Oh, I'm forgetting. You got it though.
Blanking, but you know the meme I sent.
Yeah.
Hey, tell the streets that we back up.
Exactly.
We coming back, baby. We coming
finally.
back.
Finally. Only took 6 pay-per-view cycles. Yeah.
1 in 5. I want to say what my top shelf is.
Yeah.
Bloodline versus Original Nightmares, Cody and Roman.
Don't stick with that. That was just me being funny.
I just read it and I'm like, what the fuck is that? When I read it again.
I was just making shit up. Obviously, nobody's ever said that on TV. I was just Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Bloodline versus Cody and Roman. Match was good. It was entertaining. Roman and Cody won it as we expected it because hometown and these are the two top guys. Jimmy finally returns, acknowledges his cousin Roman as the tribal chief, and they make up and hug. Then, what really because just the match itself, I would say is probably primo.
Yeah.
What really puts it in the top shelf is the People's Champ. He didn't do much. He just came out.
He didn't do anything.
he just looked and then gave some cues, but he did something that it was popping in my head. I was like, you know what? When is the last time this dude throwing up the eyebrow? And he finally did it.
Yeah.
He threw up the eyebrow. And then did you see the Instagram live, like right after?
No, what happened with that?
Oh, so like right after, he has somebody in the back, like recording the entire time. And so like as soon as like he walks backstage, he's just cutting a promo, just talking shit.
Okay.
But like the funniest thing, this is the first time I really felt like The Rock was old.
So, yeah.
Because if you listen to the promo, he says absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
This is like your drunk uncle at the family party, just
Talking in
talking.
circles.
Yeah, just saying stuff. And some of it was kind of funny, but like literally nothing. This man is just. I was like, all right, Rock. This is just like, all right, drunk unc. You go sit down for a little bit. Sit
right.
down. But
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, that was
Yeah. For
it
me,
was great cinema. Great cinema.
yeah, you said that you felt like I was giving it to you, and I will not confirm that because I really wanted to see, because I'm imagining it clean in my head,
Yeah.
right? Because we didn't predict like Rocky showing up, we didn't predict Jimmy showing up, so it's like, all right, at least that like Jimmy showing up, that like finally projects us into this like Survivor Series storyline that we said that we're imagining we're headed towards new versus old bloodline, and it's like, all right, how are we getting Jimmy back? You use a pay-per-view to bring Jimmy back, and it's like, all right, perfect. So, but I would have liked to see, like, man, Roman's. I know that's asking a lot. I said it before. That's asking a lot for Roman's first match back for his shoulders to be down, and it's like, nah. But I was just holding out hope. But I had this Primo, and I know, like you said, it's with Rocky showing up. That's what pushes it up there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to argue that. That's your GOAT, obviously. But it's the top of. It's right below. I mean, well, not right below because that's presidential, but yeah, it's the second best thing on the show that night for me.
I would agree with that. I would still put the Hell in a Cell match as the top.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna put this in my mid. Actually, both of these could be mid, but we'll probably talk about the first one a little bit more. Liv Morgan ended up winning against Rhea Ripley. We both got that wrong. We actually got both of the Judgment Day matches wrong.
Yeah. I was tight about Finn losing. Like, that's, I mean.
I don't get it. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Because the whole point of, like, having this rivalry was the fact, like, he's been saying he's bided his time and stuff, and he's ready to stab you in the back. So you have to, like, I figure we were legitimizing Finn back in the World Heavyweight Championship picture by beating a former World Heavyweight Champion. But I guess we're just setting the stage for that. Like, maybe Damian gets a shot down the line, like where it's, or he's, in a match versus Gunther again, and then, Finn stabs him in the back, and it's like, eventually get it, you got to involve the title, I imagine. That's probably why. But I still feel like you can have Finn go over right now and make him a more credible threat. So we're more prone to believing him, and making Judgment Day as a group more threatening. You know what I mean? Because he is the de facto leader kind of right now, even though they say there is no leader. But
I feel like you hit the nail on the head. Like, this kind of stripped any kind of threateningness that Judgment Day has from me. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you guys at this point, it feels like you're just like the agitators.
Yeah.
Like, you just like, oh man, like I can't get this goddamn fly out of my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not even that big of a problem. You just an annoying little gnat. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, y'all should not be in that point. Yeah, y'all should have a little bit more weight.
Yeah, it's like, because this is also a faction that used to have all the gold at one point too. Like, that was an image for like a whole 6-month period, and it's like, after you have that, I feel like that's all the setup you need. But they're just, this is Judgment Day 2.0, but they're kind of, I mean, at least in this pay-per-view, or 3.0, yeah. But at this point, I feel like they're kind of, I don't want to say fumbling it, because it's just not what we wanted. It's not what we predicted, because I feel like, we're good at this writing shit. We know what's going on here, so I don't get it.
But in the Liv and Rhea match, the reason Rhea lost is because Raquel Rodriguez makes a return. And I thought it was interesting because I think when I was watching it, I had the volume like down because I was listening to a podcast as I was watching it. But apparently there was really no pop.
Yep, you beat me to it because I was like, that's what it was deafening, man. We know who Raquel Rodriguez is, and when I saw her, I was like, ugh, like nothing, like no reaction at all.
And you know what? I don't put that on Raquel. I put that on WWE.
Of course,
because I watched the pre-show, and they show you a bunch of vignettes to get you ready for the matches and whatnot. And they showed a vignette for the Rhea and Liv match. And Liv was, as she was giving her part in telling her side of the story in the vignette, she had mentioned that she had won tag team champions with Raquel, and Rhea felt some type of way, and this, that, and the third. And as I was like, huh, that's an interesting thing to mention.
yeah.
And I clocked it, but I didn't think of like Raquel coming in. But I was like, that's an interesting thing to put into a vignette because again, things are always intentional.
Yeah.
In which like how what things are said on television or shown on television. So the fact that they mentioned that put a little nugget in my back of my head, but I didn't think of anything of Raquel coming in. But I say it's WWE's fault because it's like if that was always in the basket of the storyline, you got to mention it at some point. Raquel ain't been on TV since March, April.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, it's not like she was. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to just say, it's not that even like we were still working on getting Raquel over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So she's not like a Nia or a Bailey or even a Tiffany Stratton, like, still at this point in career, even though she's held gold twice with Liv Morgan. So it's not that it's not. Well, yeah, it's not that I was surprised that she came back. However, I'm not surprised at the reaction because she hadn't been built properly yet to that point. So,
yeah, she was one of the cleanest baby faces that we had before she left. And so, again, if you're going to bring her back, I get there's an element of surprise, but you got to at least bring some of the historical context of the storyline between Liv and Rhea. And if you're going to include Raquel into it, it doesn't have to be so heavy-handed, but you can drop little breadcrumbs about why Liv has some type of beef, or like not even just Liv, but like why the women's division may not like Rhea.
Yeah.
Then you have some validation of why Raquel's doing. Because now everybody has to be like, why is Raquel doing this? Oh yeah, I do remember.
They was 2-time tag team champs. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Nah, B, you gotta leave some breadcrumbs. So I put that not on Raquel. I think she's probably better as a heel. Obviously, she has the physique for it and stuff like that. But yeah, that's on WWE for not educating the audience a bit better.
Yeah, because as much as like we've been in the Judgment Day Clubhouse and stuff, it easily could have been like a backstage, like not even a whole segment, but just like one of those vignettes, like you see, like maybe Liv's on her phone and she's like, "All right, later, I was talking to my homegirl, Raquel or something." You could have mentioned her like a month ago or something like that. That's easy. But next up, I know the other women's title match. We got Bailey. I mean, we were both right about this. I mean, we knew that title wasn't going nowhere. Nia Jax retaining versus Bailey, and we get the Tiffany Stratton. Once again, I think this is my moment. And Nia Jax, like the only variation is that Nia Jax hits the Undertaker spot, and just does the sit up. Like, bitch, what are you doing? Just facing Tiffany, like catching her right in the act, and like referee Jessica Carr is holding the briefcase, and she's like, "You want to do this? You want?" And like Tiffany's like, "Oh no, Nia just woke up." So, did you think up until she sat up? Did you think that Tiffany was gonna cash in and win the title? No. Okay.
It's too much money with her having a briefcase, man.
All right. Still not at the right time. I agree.
She gives a good facial expressions of like, there's a lot of meat on the bones to leave on for like the eventual Tiffany turn on Nia. So I think Saturday night's main event.
Yeah.
That's what
Make
I'm
a
calling.
moment.
Yeah, make a moment.
Okay.
I have two Reggies.
Oh, okay.
The one
Reggie's
is
some bad blood. Okay.
yeah. The first one, it's with directly in the show, is crown jewel announcement.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
So fucking stupid. They hyped it up. They're like, "Oh, we have a huge major announcement," and Triple H comes out and talking about the next major PLEs, Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel, and we're gonna have a champion versus champion, and whoever wins this was gonna get this Crown Jewel championship belt that looks hideous.
It's better than the Greatest Royal Rumble Christmas one that they had.
Who cares? Who cares?
I just care about the diamonds or the carats. I don't know how many carats it was, but I don't know what that's worth. But
I think
obviously it's hideous, but the amount of money that's
this
worth.
belt is not even going to be on TV.
You're right. Obviously.
It's not going to be defended. It ain't going to be talked about.
Yeah. I mean, I could see Gunther could be like, I beat Cody Rhodes.
Huh?
I said, I could see Gunther bragging about being Cody. He wouldn't brag about the belt. He wouldn't brag about that. He would brag about being Cody.
He would brag about being Cody, but the mention of a belt, nobody's ever going to know about it.
Yeah, being Crown Jewel champion.
You know how wild this is? They showed a graphic for their PLE calendar for the next like 5-6 months. They had Survivor Series and War Games, right? They had Saturday Night Main Event. They had WrestleMania. They had Royal Rumble. They had Elimination Chamber, right? Guess what they skipped over? Crown Jewel.
Crown Jewel.
And it's like, y'all didn't even put this on your PLE calendar.
Because you know it's some bullshit.
I'm going to ask this question.
Yeah.
Do we even cover it? Like, not even cover it, but like, do we go through the whole rigmarole of predictions and things of that nature? I'm just going to ask that.
I'd rather not because it's not a PLE. And
since
its inception, it hasn't. I mean, there's been title changes, but I mean, the most significant one is what, Goldberg beating The Fiend? Wasn't that was at a Crown Jewel, right? So that's the most significant moment, but also a horrifying moment that shouldn't even exist. So yeah, I would throw my hat in. Let's not, or we could just offhandedly.
We could talk about it, but like we're not doing the whole rigmarole of primos and things of that nature. All right, cool. Because I'm done with that entire show. Do you have any thoughts to that before I get to my second Reggie?
No, my thought was just like immediately seeing the belt being revealed. Obviously, I was like, yeah, I think they said on Mass Man Show, the tallest title belt ever. You definitely see that, how gauntly it is, and just the money. Because I was like, they didn't say how much it was cost, but they said it was something like 185 carats or 7,084 carats. Way out of my price range, but I'd sit that on my shelf. But that's the only thing I would do with it. I would never take it out. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Those are the work numbers, man.
Yeah, of course. And then, I guess the last thing, Triple H channeling his inner Tony Khan with his important announcement that means nothing. Because, Tony Khan's good for the nothing announcement. And it's like, okay, there's a match happening.
And I'm glad you brought up Triple H because Triple H received my other Reggie.
Ah, okay. Go ahead, give it to me.
Post-conference, he was asked about, black people and just a lot of, there's a lot of champions that are African American, and there's a lot of push as we've seen on the television. And did you catch his comments?
I did, yeah, I did.
Where he says that
I don't see color. The most oh my best friends are black kind of comment. The ignorant, offhanded, not racism, but prejudice. It's like offhanded prejudice that like you don't realize that it is
ignorance.
Like ignorance, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, nah, yo. And this is where it makes Cody's turn so much more once he does become a Klansman. You know what I'm saying? Because we just got this whole. We talked about it last episode about, you brought it up about how he gets support from the Black community and he don't want to mess it up or anything like that. And then the next week, Boss Man's like, I don't see color. Like, all right, just like, this is the same guy that actually, obviously is clearly, he reset the timeline with Roman. And your first pick of the Triple H era is, country boy from Georgia. All right, we gonna see how this goes. I see what you're trying to do. Trips. It ain't worth it.
Let's not forget that Triple H is a white man from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yes, old money, New England. That New England old money, for real.
This man, for all the credit I will give him, who put me on was it Radiohead? That does his music?
Yeah, Radiohead. Or yeah.
Not Radiohead. I forget. But they're whoever does his
Motorhead.
Motorhead.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah.
Motorhead and all that. Like, dude is white.
With the H. White. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I don't think Triple H is necessarily racist. I think he's ignorant.
Ignorant, yeah. If you say that sentence, you're ignorant because you should be smarter enough as management of like a multicultural, like world-reaching brand that all your fans aren't the same color, which obviously I understand. Like, he's saying the opposite of what he's meaning to say when it's like, oh, this is for everybody. But you should see the color and you should see the diversity, and not just your fans, but also in your wrestlers and in your staff and in your company, because that's what makes you strong.
And you know what he does see when he says like, I don't see color, I only see green or whatever it is. It's like, sure, but you know what? In order for you to see green, you see color.
Yeah.
Because in order for you to do that, if you see green, you're seeing something that you're able to capitalize on. Right?
Yeah.
So miss me with that why are we having, if you don't see color, then why do you make a big deal about it when Sasha and Bianca are wrestling in the main event at WrestleMania? And you got Michael Cole screaming, this is the first time that we have 2 black women main event WrestleMania. Why, if you don't see color, why do you say that? If you don't see color, why is Bianca and Jade on NXT randomly with Kalani Jordan?
You ever heard of backup? They're training Naomi's replacement. That's what it looked like to me.
All right. Why they ended that show with Trick, Kalani, Bianca, Jey Uso, Jade, all stand. Why? Why, Triple H? Why is there LWO?
Facts. No facts. And why have they been in a never-ending feud with Legado del Fantasma?
Explain it. You don't see color. A fucking course you do, because you see it as a way to capitalize. You're pandering.
Yeah.
Why is Sexy Red there? Why is Megan Thee Stallion
the new theme song for
SmackDown?
Yeah.
Why do you come up with a DX special report mimicking what you guys did in the 97 when USA got tight on you and saying all of these young cool words like fleek and all that other bullshit? Because you're trying to attract a younger audience that uses African American vernacular. Even if you're like, oh, my daughter says this. Okay, who did she get it from?
Right. We know where the culture lies.
So like I get what he's trying to say, but like, come on, bro. Your whole show's pandering. So Triple H,
miss me with the better. I don't see color. Yeah, exactly. He should be way smarter than that.
And you didn't miss it off, because I got some more shit for you coming up on Friday. So we'll end it there with Bad Blood. Anything you want to have before we continue on?
No, let's just blaze through this freaking week though, because it was. I don't regret it. Awesome, Percy. We took 25 minutes for that, but we're also trying to head into the city. Gonna hit some like the Air and Space Museum. That's where like Joe wants to go, and I guess like the closest.
Really dope.
Yeah, so we got some stuff to do, but we'll blaze through this. Try not and like bog it down so much with the details.
Yeah. So we'll get into the Raw recap, and I'll start off with my Raw recap, and it'll kind of connect to some kind of time machine, time jump news. So Peter Rosenberg did a quick little talk chat with Xavier Woods outside of Bad Blood, and he kind of gave his rationale saying that like he wasn't in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what I've been saying about Xavier Woods. There's reasoning and rationale behind the actions and moves that he does. This week, he had his Intercontinental Championship match against Jey Uso. He ended up losing. As they were leaving, Braun Breaker comes out, spears Jey Uso. Kofi's begging him to go back. Xavier's like, nah, bruh, I'm trying to go back. Kofi says, fuck it, I'm gonna go.
He was just
save
upset
him.
because he lost the match. That's all.
Gets both of them ended up getting speared. And so the match itself, predictable, probably mid on itself. I think with the intermixing of storylines between there's two separate storylines that are happening, but we're able to kind of seamlessly mix them in between. I put them up at primo, and again, they're making it easy for you to disagree with Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a PG storyline where it's like there's a little bit of nuance that you're kind of taking out because you want to be clear that Xavier is a heel in this. Yeah. But I'm like, anybody with an adult view lens of this can look at that like there's a little bit more nuance to this situation that Xavier is not in the bad. So I'm still with Xavier on this, that I don't think he's that in the wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you're right that it takes an adult lens. Like you said, it's the adult nuance lens, because if you're talking about flat on their faces, how they look right now, it's clearly that, Xavier is supposed to be the heel. Right now, 9-year-old kids are like, help Jay! Help Jay!
Yeah.
So it's like, I get it when you point it out like that. I believe that to be true. I believe that there is also more nuance. I will say that the only thing that, like, I had this in my mid rising, because as you point out specifically, that it's two, stories that just happen to be like, ships crossing in the night in this segment. That is interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's good that even just that is happening. Yeah. But the only thing that takes it away from me is just the fact that Braun Breaker just last week was a face. So I'm like, okay, so are we just supposed to believe in? Obviously, he was just like putting Jay's guard down. That's what he was doing. So if I have to take it, like, it took it out of me that he was like, I believed he was face. You know what I'm saying? So when that happens, I was like, okay, so that just didn't mean anything, I guess. Or even if you were lowering his guard, you didn't build his face enough for me to believe that he wouldn't just go off and spear the shit out of everybody, because that's all he's been doing since he got here.
Yeah.
Literally last week is the anomaly for his character, like being just nice and shit. So
yeah, I'm not gonna spoil my champion of the week, but I will just use an old classic Lee Corso line. Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah,
that's that Braun Breakerness. I get it, and so like it wasn't too surprised for me, because I'm like, I'll leave it for my champion of the week. But
yeah,
Braun Breaker stuff, it was interesting.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying I understand it's a character trait of his now. He'll just do whatever. So it's like, okay, if that's part of his character, that's fine. But it just kind of took me out of it immediately. For my primo, CM Punk. Him and Seth Rollins passing in the night also,
Yeah.
I have it written down as he's a super gracious face. And him and Seth come face to face. Being super gracious, like, oh, he doesn't know what's, in store for him next. Just all the blow-off feud, kind of shit that you say. But I'm very, very glad that we got them face to face, and I'm glad that we got Seth specifically. Like, all right, even you're on the back burner right now because Bronson Reed crushed my fucking ribs, 2 months ago, which I felt like I was like, if he immediately comes after CM Punk, like it would be smart if you think about Seth as a character, just because I'm like, all right, well, yeah, go after the injured Tiger. Like, you're just coming back, and CM Punk is clearly fucked up from Hell in a Cell. However, I feel like, I mean, Seth can obviously get away from it, but that would be super heelish of him to do that, to like beat down CM Punk as he's injured. So I'm looking forward to that, but I'm actually looking forward to him and Bronson Reed more so. So the fact that
I'm looking forward to both those matchups, like the CM Punk, the Seth Rollins and the Bronson it's going to be dope. Obviously, I think Seth is going to come out looking great on that. But to your point about the CM Punkness, like I like Seth came out and then he came to the ring and he made a couple comments to CM Punk, but then he was like, "I can't wait for you to come back so I can whoop your ass when you get back." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go, boy.
Yeah.
Let's go." I can't wait for CM Punk to get curb stomped by Seth Rollins. So looking forward to that shit. I put that in like pretty good mid. I was actually a little surprised that like CM Punk is leaving.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sense, but like, I'm like, both from a kayfabe and a non-kayfabe lens point, but I figured he would going after Gunther.
Yeah, he has a claim to it for sure, but I think that's probably where real world takes over a little bit more than the kayfabe does. And it's like that man actually is 45 or 46, like, you know what I mean? So it's like he actually do need to sit his ass down after that. But I would expect that's the first thing. Like, he needs to come back before Drew, and then the first thing that he does is challenge Gunther. So yeah. My other primo that I had was the Donnybrook match. Sheamus going over Pete Dunne. That was awesome.
I would have this in primo, but I'll just leave this in mid rising because
I think this is the blow off.
Pete Dunne should have won.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just the match construction I thought was awesome. Like when he hit the Irish Curse like through 2 tables, off of like. Yeah. I just think it's so funny, when they just have such the specific gimmick like the Donnybrook, which was just like, oh, this is behind a British bar, like behind a British pub kind of fight. So. But yeah, that was like spot of the match for me, was him hitting that Irish Curse through the tables. I was like, oh, holy shit. The repeated shillelagh shots, where Finley has it in my head that a shillelagh is always like 1 foot to like 1.5 feet long. Mm-hmm. Like the shillelagh that he had was like a whole walking stick. That shit was like 4 feet long. And I was like, oh, okay, they come in different sizes. But I enjoyed it. This is, and the reason I felt good about putting it in primo is that the action here was better than anything else that they had, and it was just clearly the most entertaining out of the series of matches and the rivalry they had up to this point. But
they've done a good job of lifting this match style up of the good old fashioned Donnybrook, because again, it's a street fight, but I do think with like Sheamus and people of this background, it works. It works well. It works well for their style of wrestling. So
yeah.
The other thing that I did like about it is afterwards, Sheamus basically was like, "You're no longer with me, bro." Like mad respect. So even though Pete Dunne lost, it seems like they might be done with this feud for now, and that like at least like Sheamus is like, "All right, bro, like you a beast." So
yeah,
I just hope Pete Dunne continues his ascent, and that this doesn't hamper him.
I wouldn't be surprised if Pete Dunne is face after this, because I would seem to be like his whole issue with Sheamus was like, yo, that was like the worst time of my career with me being Butch, and you're still slipping up calling me Butch. I'm gonna make you remember my name, which clearly
I would like to see him, if anything, like the Raw version of LA Knight.
Okay.
I don't want to seem like super clean cut baby face, but I just like the motherfucker with an attitude that will just get into anybody's face.
He's just missing a catchphrase. Like, he gets a catchphrase, he'll be there. Seriously.
Where do you put Sammy versus Gunther?
Yeah, I had it as mid-stable because it went exactly as we know it would go. I have it written as Gunther over Sami Zayn's resiliency badge because just the power bomb, 1-2 kick out, and then he gets hit with a lariat, another power bomb stack up, and then Sammy kicks out at 1, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was the Hall of Fame resiliency match coming in, just triggering exactly how we described it. So, but it ends with a chokeout, and yeah, there's no chance Sammy was winning that. They did as good as possible with the TV match where he hits him with a haluva and is going for another one, but yeah, runs into that lariat. So it's like we knew that wasn't happening, but exactly what we expected. That's why it's stable, because it's like it's nothing different than we've had between them before.
I'm gonna leave this in shake.
Mm-hmm.
There's an argument maybe I can make this mid, just because I did like that it ended in a chokeout, and it meant like, all right, nigga, get your ass to the back of the line.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens, because again, Survivor Series is in Canada.
True.
You need your Canadian pops. So Kevin looks like he's gonna be at Survivor Series against Cody, and then Sammy versus Gunther. That's why
I'm mad at it in shake though. I ain't mad at it in shake.
I'm mad at shake because again, you know me, I don't care for this shit. We knew that this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So why the hell? Why do I need to watch this now? If this was a whole 6 months later, like this is after the Royal Rumble or something, fine. But not even like it would have to be after WrestleMania. Like I don't think there's at any point from now until WrestleMania that Gunther is going to lose his title.
Yeah.
Unless like John Cena pulls like an upset or something.
Yeah, solid prediction. Yeah, for sure.
But that's everything I have for Raw. It also, this was the first Raw in 12 years that was 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt so weird for that joint to finish at 10. I was like, this is it zoomed by. And there was technical difficulties. I think legitimate technical difficulties that happened during the show. Because at one point they came back from commercial and then they just like had the camera on the ring, but like nothing was happening. And they just kept going to different packages, like vignettes. And I'm like, and then they were saying like, oh, we're having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure if it was a work or a shoot, but it seemed like it was a shoot. But first Raw 2 hours.
Yeah, the last thing, I mean, just because you brought up the 2 hours thing, the only Reggie I got is the women's division. Getting a 10-women tag match, 5-on-5. And that's the sacrifice that we're going to have to make. If that ends up happening, like, no, we should just keep it at 3 hours because there's no way in hell that I should be preparing myself for just a back to PG era of just, multi-women trios matches just to put them on TV and just be like, oh yeah, remember Marisa's still employed here,
Yeah.
Like
this is like when I saw this, I was like, this is such a hodgepodge of mashed up together. Like honestly, I was like, Natalya, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Zelina Vega, and Lyra Valkyria. I'm just like, what?
Yeah. Faces versus heels, got it. It's like that's what you put all the women out there because they need screen time. But yeah, that's all I had for Raw. I mean, R-Truth tried to reconcile with Miz, but Miz is being an asshole. That's the last thing.
Yeah, R-Truth is, he don't get what's happening.
Yeah.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah, I know you thought I was in Judgment Day. NXT?
Yeah, Tuesday. Let's go to the bodega. I'll keep both mine short. I guess mine short. I'll let you start though.
Top shelf, without a doubt. The mountain is toppled by the Don, Tony D'Angelo, putting Obafemi's shoulders on the map with the most devastating move in sports entertainment history.
Yeah.
The good old roll up. But it was a definitive roll up though. Because usually in the roll ups, it's like the second they hit 3, they kick out. but he ain't kick out. He actually had him for a 4, and then he like let him go. So it was a definitive like I got your shoulders down. So I like that. But the Dom, he's the North American champion. Got the Italian flag up there in the corner as he's celebrating, doing a whole bunch of this, in the crowd. It's like, yeah, my man Tony D. Like, if there was, like we said before, if there was a team NXT versus a team TNA, like, coming up in like Survivor Series, Tony D'Angelo and Obafemi, that's some NXT, right? That's the big meat slapping meat, perfect. And the guy finally came through. He was able to finish his like underdog story, and it's his first singles title at all. So this is Tony. He's been there since he was a beginning NXT 2.0 era guy, and it's like, all right, he was like one of the few good things actually, because I knew when NXT 2.0 happened, I was not with the whole first 6 months of it basically, but Tony D'Angelo, top shelf for sure.
The hater in me. Well, is it top shelf or primo?
No, it's the same. Yeah, I think this might be haterade, just slightly, because it has to be top shelf.
Are you saying it's top shelf or primo?
Oh, I'm saying top shelf. I have it written in top shelf.
Okay, I thought you said primo. Okay, the hater in me wants to just leave it in primo.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's my guy Oba. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's where I'm like, you have to put it at top shelf because. This is literally all right. It's not this extreme of an analogy, but this is like Linsanity. Remember when Jeremy Lin gave your boy Kobe 38 and a dub, and we know that's like the highlight of his career. That's the highlight of his career.
I'm not putting this in top shelf. The debate for me is whether this is mid or primo.
Oh my God, that's hate. Yeah, that's hate. You being too much of a Oba fan for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna be too much.
That's too much. That's crazy. That was great.
I'm fine with Oba losing. He's the longest reigning North American champion. Like, he did it. Happy for Tony D'Angelo.
Storyline makes sense. Great match. All the math is there, dog.
The Italian flag again, just the white guy, black guy thing. I'm just like, man, that guy's gonna get his lick back. I'll leave it in primo.
Okay.
I knew it was over for Obafemi when the misogyny started. I knew it was over for Obafemi when the misogyny talk started happening.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, when you factor that in, you're like, the second he told Rizzo, like, women are seeing, not her. You're like,
he called whoever the woman that's in the family.
Yeah, Rizzo.
He had a promo like 24 hours before that match. He called her a chicken head. I was like, damn, bro. I was like, all right, bro. You can't. I was like, the misogyny talk is just.
Yeah, that's wild. You out of pocket, bro.
You gotta lose the belt for that. So, the hater in me is gonna leave it in primo.
Okay.
That's my nigga Oba.
Yeah. Primo for me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah. That's the only top shelf. But the primo I had was our Powerpuff Girls coming through and backing up Kaylani, even though Triple H don't see color, right?
That's why I gotta leave that in like shake. I'm not even gonna mention it. Like, if you didn't say that, fine. It could have been primo, but fuck you, nigga.
Yeah, versus a Fatal Influence, they get the dub as it goes on. Those were the two biggest things that happened, and that's what I had up here for NXT. What else you got?
I have a couple Reggies.
Okay.
Actually, I'll leave one Reggie. The other one I'm gonna say it's shake. But the Reggie, Sexy Red.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Just being there because she's in St. Louis, it's like, yo, what?
And she was at Raw, too. It's like, oh, my God. Like, again, you don't see color, Triple H. But we'll bring a woman here that has one phrase that basically is a MAGA hat. It was she had a make America sexy again hat, and I'm like, girl, you know what the fuck you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Reggie as fuck. I agree with that. Like, I didn't even know about the hat, but her appearance, yeah. I don't need her to be involved in my wrestling at all. in any
She's
shape.
not even relevant. That just shows you like these white people don't know shit. Because like whoever Sexy Red is only relevant to people that like don't know hip hop.
Well, young people, if I'm shooting them bail, young people, which NXT is like the youthful brand, and St. Louis. That's it. That's the only reason that she's
But
there.
I mean, saying with even young people,
yeah,
like she had a hit song. She Sir Mix-a-Lot.
yeah.
She hasn't been relevant. She had a little bit of a buzz, and then now it's like she's no better than like the My Pillow guy.
yeah. That's funny.
Like,
I don't know his name, but his face is burned in my memory.
That's what we're fucking working with. Like, there's way better. Like, you have Meg Thee Stallion or Sexy Red. What?
Yeah.
Bro, you could have got Glorilla, and they had a song just come out together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were literally picking like the Kid Rocks.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's really the comparison.
Of, like,
a Kid Rock.
fandom.
Like, yeah.
Like, that's where it's like you have ignorance. Just pure ignorance. This is what black people like, right? Sexy Red. No, nigga. That is like the smallest subsection of black people that fuck with Sexy Red. Just because we might have fucked with one song, don't mean she's a fucking black cultural icon that needs to be plastered in my motherfucking face.
Multiple times. We shouldn't see her anymore. I would hope not, because twice is already too much for me in a year, or twice at all.
Like,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like
something like that. Yeah.
You get one time, you get one chance. Like any celebrity can get one chance. We had, former President Trump on television multiple times. You know what I mean? So like anybody can get one episode, but it's like after you're cooked like that, like Sexy, it's like nah. I never needed to see that again. So now that she got a hometown pop, and it's like even Randy Orton was there, and we did the whole St. Louis thing. We should never see her again. Fingers crossed.
Speaking of Randy, I'll get to my shake. I'm gonna give Randy a primo just for the fact that for maturity.
Yeah,
he's obviously he's obviously in his mid-40s now, but the fact that we talked about the Javon Evans Randy Orton match when it got booked a few weeks ago randomly, and we were like, okay, yeah, this is just Randy just trying to wrestle at home, and get in the fucking fantasy factory with Javon Evans so they can practice on something ridiculous for an RKO for him to take.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened. It didn't go off. Javon couldn't Luther's curl. He couldn't just get the curl all the way. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's hard to do a double corkscrew diving backwards. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So,
but again, I give props to Randy for the maturity, because again, this is literally Kofi 15 years ago. And he's yelling at him, "You're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid." And coming from this white guy, second, third generation, to this black guy, it's just like optics, bro. But again, different time. You and Kofi are peers. Relative to, Javon Evans is literally 21 years old and you're 47.
Yeah, like already super established legend versus
so different context, but again, a maturity that he picks him up and tell him like, yo, it's all good, bro. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, shout out to
I understand that. Because definitely you see like Javon obviously knowing, because it's mostly dependent on him to, just put his head in the right area. When, after the match, he's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry." You can just read his lips where he's like, "Oh, my bad, bro." And like Randy's like, "Oh, don't worry about it."
That's Javon's biggest match of his fucking life. And then that's Randy wrestling at home.
Yeah.
Like, Javon felt super bad.
Yeah.
And again, the maturity, Randy, if he did the same shit to Kofi and if it wasn't a work, like, fuck Randy Orton.
Yeah.
But he didn't. It's honestly the growth of Randy Orton. Like, you know, just as like, yeah, I'm a much more mature guy than I was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
My last bit of news on Raw NXT is I'm gonna be nice and leave this in shake. This nigga Wesley,
Yeah.
he is the Charles Holmes of NXT.
Yeah.
Even the way he dresses.
He dressed like Charles, you know.
Did you see him?
Elaborate for me.
Did you see him when he cut that promo against Trick?
I don't remember his outfit. I'll look up real
Go
quick.
bring it up on the NXT highlights. Like, you're just like, bro, who are you intimidating? Like, again, when I saw him up there, I was just like, bro, this is like if Charles Holmes tried to talk shit to me. I'm like, nigga, shut your bitch ass up. You ain't putting no fear in my motherfucking heart.
Who do you think you're talking to? Who do you think you are, actually? Like,
Oh, yo, bring up, look at fucking Wesley and what he came out with. This nigga look like goddamn Hanson, Bop in the goddamn 90s.
not Mbop, yeah.
That nigga look like Bop. Looking like Brink. But again, Wesley, you just not a heel, bro.
No, yeah, he's trying his damnedest, but it ain't working. So, not to this point. I mean, that's why he had to do that work with, you know, Zachary Wentz, because it's like, all right, at least we can see some power set stuff from him. You know, when you got two cruiserweights, you can use those power spots, even though, I mean, they're high flyers. It's hard. It's hard to be a high flying, nimble, agility guy and be a heel, you know. But yeah, you got any more for NXT?
That's it for me from the bodega.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for me.
Ready to move over to the coffee shop?
For sure.
And I will say the coffee shop this week had new operating hours, specifically for this week, because of Major League Baseball postseason.
Yep.
So instead of Wednesday, we get AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday. I watched the highlights, but I don't have much to take away from this. So I'm going to let you.
All right, I'll run through it. Yeah, I'll run through it pretty quick. For me, all right, so Willow Nightingale, they were supposed to have a number one contendership match. She was supposed to have a match against Britt Baker, but Britt Baker, I don't know, she's not injured. I think she was just sick. So they had to like modify the women's main event where Willow Nightingale still won, but it was a fatal four-way. So that was cool. It was all, and they put her over. I thought it was interesting with just this lineup. It's with Saraya, Jamie Hayter, and Nyla Rose. So you're putting her over with all three of those women are former AEW women's champions, and she gets the dub. So I thought that was great, especially to make that turn on a dime. I'm pretty sure that this is because Britt also hasn't been on a good string of matches anyway, or she's not having a good 2024. I should just say that. But I had that as primo for the episode because this episode was pretty, I would say, weak, generally speaking. Also, for mids, I had Mercedes Moné versus Emi Sakura. Emi Sakura, you know, I think she's got to be in her 50s, definitely wrestling legend from Japan. She's playing the bass with Sasha, and she does the spot where, you know, the double underhook like pedigree. Mm-hmm. Mercedes is in her prime, right? Because this is one of Mercedes' best matches. I had this mid-rising where Emi Sakura lifts her up, so it's like an implant buster, like Mandy Rose's like old finisher, and she walks around with her, like just like this, like elevated. You know, her head is upside down and everything, and she did that twice. And I'm like, man, this blood's got to be rushing like Mercedes' head for like a bit there. You know, all core strength and stuff. I'm like,
I was gonna say that's the core strength of Mercedes as well.
Yeah, I was like, that's the core strength because I'm also thinking, I'm like, Emi Sakura is 50 years old, like. Yeah. I know, like, I'm sure she can do it, but I'm like, all right. And it just went off perfectly. And I was just like, oh, this is the stuff. But yeah, she retains her, you know, New Japan Strong Women and TBS title. And the other mid I originally had this in Primo, and I talked myself out of it. And I was like, let me chill out. It wasn't all that. But the same way how you just got your guys like Jay White being back, I think we both like Jay White. Like he just had a squash match, but really that was about him challenging Hangman because Hangman is the one that took him out again because they got issues with each other. So just keeping that, just stirring that pot still, just keeping it on simmer. And a slight step over, we're still at the coffee shop, but just a different facet of the coffee shop. This was the other Primo over in TNA. Their main event. We had Nick Bennett and Joe Hendry versus First Class. I forget AJ Francis's tag partner's name, but Joe Hendry is the #1 contender. So that's all it was. Can they coexist? And Joe Hendry hit a standing ovation on AJ Francis, which is obviously kayfabe in the max because AJ is like 330 pounds. And yeah, it was great though. They traded each other's finishers. So Nick actually hit a standing ovation and Joe hit a zigzag, or he calls it something else, danger zone. That's right. He calls it danger zone now. But yeah, it was fun action. And I'm like, okay, I ain't pay attention to nothing else in TNA. But also, I wish I knew that kid's name just because he was obviously taking the bumps of the match, being the smaller of the two. He was like the cruiserweight of this entire situation. So
yeah,
that was the coffee shop.
Two things I want to ask you about the coffee shop. I'm interested in the Willow storyline because I saw that she jumped. I'm not sure if it was this week or last week. She jumped somebody backstage during a promo and was like, "I'm coming for that AEW Women's title." Was that this week or last week?
That was Mariah beat her down. Was that last week?
I think she jumped Mariah backstage or something like that. And then she cut a promo. Either way, like I'm curious. I don't, you know me, like that's birthday sis.
Yeah.
Does she have a chance?
As far as character, absolutely. Because she is the problem with Mariah is that whole feud. Obviously, you see Toni Storm was Women's Character of the Year. You know what I'm saying? Like Mariah has just been generic heel champion as the glamour and hasn't made it her own, with the exception of her signature is just whipping people with the belt. Like she does that a lot since she's been champion. But other than that, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? So character-wise, I have no doubt that if Willow is to win, that place is going to come apart. Like people love Willow for sure. So yeah, she has a chance.
I think
it's just if it's timing or not, if it's the right timing, because you can't.
I mean, I think to your point, like the thought that came to my head was more so that like Willow can win if Toni Storm comes back and costs Mariah Mason back.
For sure. She'd be justified to.
Yeah. Now, would you want Willow to win like that? I mean, I think you could still make it look like her doing the work. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily have to be like Toni was the reason. Yeah,
exactly. Because the simple thing is where like a heel is going to be like, oh, you interfered. Toni's music can just hit. You know what I'm saying? Just when you hear the shimmering lights and stuff, just hear that, and then she's going to turn around and she'll be distracted, and then you get, a Death Valley driver from Willow, 1, 2, 3. That's not an interference, but it is at the same time.
It would actually be pretty funny if like you said Toni's music hits, and then like how they always kind of go into the black and white of it. If Mariah acted like the color had just been zapped from her world.
Yeah.
And then like, what is going on? And then she gets hit by like whatever finishing move by like Willow, but just acting like it's like not only is Toni coming out, but like everything was just color, just turned into black and white right now.
Yeah.
So I think that would be dope. My other thing before we get off the coffee shop is I wanted to get your thoughts on the main event of Danielson and Wheeler Yuta versus Pac and Claudio.
I mean, I like the story that's being built here. I'm glad that Danielson and Yuta won. This is the first time that they were able to like come together. Because Yuta has basically been like spinning wheel inside of BCC. going against the grain, whereas like he doesn't forgive them for betraying Danielson. I just think that I don't know. I don't know. I think I want to say it's a net positive because I'm so unsure of where it's going. Obviously, outside of just the title match between Moxley and Danielson coming up, clearly, but just where that leaves the trios titles and like the BCC. Because I'm like, did we just do this just for the Danielson thing? But if that's the case, then I think this could also be like hopefully similar to like 2 years ago when Yuta, he had his Ring of Honor TV championship run. And when he first got over with, or when I first like recognized him, I was like, oh, holy shit, this guy can go. And then, they bring him in BCC and all that stuff later on. So this could be just a mechanic to break off, Wheeler from them completely. So I'd like that. Maybe he's a solo face by the end of this.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my full thoughts on everything.
It was interesting. It was interesting. I was just like, okay. Like I said, I watched the highlights. I'm like, it probably was the one thing that also kind of really stood out for me on the show. But I'm like, okay. Like, again, it just seemed a very medium show.
Yeah. It was very super mid. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, we got pop-up week, so you can't give up everything. So, let's move on to Wednesday. And usually we have the coffee shop, but like I said, we had different operating hours this week, so we only have this week I learned. And you asked a question to me, I'm assuming.
Yes, to you.
Famous musical niece.
Yep, because just digging in the weeds of Wikipedia, you know how that goes when you're just in a loop. You're just on this page, or you get brought up somewhere. And then I just came across this person. We were talking about her, and I was like, hold on. That's a very specific last name. Like that I only know one other place. So, but Hit 1, her debut album peaked at number 4 in Billboard 2004. Hit 2, she was way too young to be singing about what she was singing about on that number 1 song that like got her to number 4. And Hit 3, she is basically our age. And I looked her up, and I'm just over a month older than her. So she was a teenager. She was a teenager when this song came out.
I honestly have no idea. And this is like white girl pop.
Yes, pop R&B adjacent. This was definitely playing on radios, like
pop
nuts.
R&B adjacent.
I would say she does cross over into R&B significantly. I would identify her as an R&B artist.
It's a white girl.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's what I'm like. The only one I can think of, which is funny. I mean, you can say it's pop, but either way, I've heard some of her other stuff. But all right, the last hint. Get out, leave right now. It's the end of you and me. It's too late. I don't know. That's the rest I got. That's part of the hook, but.
The song it's ringing in my head. I just can't put it to I can't connect to it right now. I'm stumped. Avril Lavigne?
No, same frame of like kind of white girl, but JoJo. Her name was just simply JoJo. But
yeah, okay.
I looked at because we were like that's one of Trina's artists she like really kept following. And like when we was dating, she was like listening to her like album and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just looked her up for whatever reason this week, and I saw that last name, Levesque, and I saw she's originally from Vermont, and I was just like, all right, like that. What are the odds of that specific super French ass name in New England in the same proximity? So, but yeah, her father and Triple H are brothers, and I was just like, oh. Okay.
Nepotism.
I had no idea that even existed.
Nepotism.
Right? But
it's entertainment, right? He's a part of the entertainment industry. WWE was making music albums and shit like that, so it ain't hard for Triple H and family to be like, hey, can you get little JoJo in front of a record exec? Sure.
It's just him as like the original gimmick though. Like he's like all pompous when he shows up, like with the tuxedo on and everything.
That's yeah. That's something I learned this week as well. Did not know that. Small world, but again, once you realize it's like, oh yeah, it's not surprising. That makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I had for Wednesday. The Book of Wrestling.
Book of Wrestling.
For sure.
We got like 3 things here. We can make it quick. I also wanted to add one, and I'll probably start it off because we already talked about one of my goats.
Okay.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson earlier in the episode. We got to talk about my other goat. And I'm going to give me a second so I can be specific about it. This October 9th, 1967, Eddie Guerrero's birthday. That's my goat right there.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody could probably take number 1, it's not. You probably can't, but like Eddie Guerrero is right there.
Yeah.
So, R.I.P. Eddie Guerrero. You
Happy
always
birthday.
will be missed. Happy birthday. I'll let you take over the next one.
For me, yeah, we'll go chronological. So yeah. October 9th, 2006, Kurt Angle making his highly anticipated TNA wrestling debut and debuting like the black mouthpiece, like before we realize he's Kurt Angle, but he makes his highly anticipated TNA wrestling debut when he confronted Samoa Joe to conclude an episode of Impact. The debut marked the start of a feud that led to TNA's largest ever pay-per-view buy rate at Lockdown later that year, back in 2006. So just the debut Kurt Angle, a whole nother chapter that is forgotten.
Your favorite chapters because you always bring up his belt collector run.
Hey, I got like, you're the only person I talk to wrestling about or I talk wrestling with, so it's like, I like the indie shot, I like the other, outside the realm things. WWE is such a monster, like that doesn't require any explanation. But yeah, what else you got? What's your other one?
Well, I'll take the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits right up my alley. October 12th, 2008, The Wrestler debuts. The Academy Award nominated film, the wrestling star Mickey Rourke, had its first public screening at the New York Film Festival. And it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but I remember when I watched it the first time, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I feel like, I know I've never watched it front to back and like paid attention to it. I feel like I've seen just, one of those movies I just saw in pieces, whether it was like flipping channels or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I never sat down with it front to back. I need to.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch it. It's been a minute, but again, I really enjoyed it. Plus, it has, because again, I think what I really liked about it is it very true to wrestling of that period or wrestlers of that period. You know how we talk about, especially one of the things we're thankful for, just how wrestling has evolved is that people are way more healthier and actually have hobbies that don't involve just getting shit-faced and taking steroids and, abusing their bodies. Like, I was like, yeah, Gator, yeah, just play video games in the back.
Yeah.
Just like, let the Undertaker just kill a whole bottle of Jack by himself. Like,
yeah, and bring a gun to his locker and shit like that. Like the good old days. Like what?
So it does a good job of just showing you, like, man, these wrestlers were really like rock stars, in the best sense, and then also in the worst sense. And then, not to mention, this also has my bae, Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, chef's kiss, right?
Shout out to the wrestlers. Final one of the Book of Wrestling. I left this for you.
Okay. Oh yeah, because I did not put this in here. The Bayley and Sasha Takeover Classic 2015 was October 7th. Takeover Respect from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. In the main event, Bayley successfully defending her title against Sasha Bayley in the 30-minute Iron Woman match classic that some may consider the best women's match in WWE's history. I mean, there's no argument with that. The only way that match is better if they go for an hour. Because we've seen Kurt and Benoit that hour long, like that is what brings so many laps fans. That's what Kaz said brought him back in to watching it again. It's like, yo, that black and gold era, actually giving women a chance and all that shit, it was, you had to be there and it was everything. Fucking love black and gold. But we on the NXT Platinum, I'm calling it NXT Platinum era because silver is a downgrade from gold. So the potential is out of this world. We've seen the roster and it's Triple H running things now. So, Triple H was running that show back then.
Yeah.
So
now it's Shawn, but yeah.
Now we can just see it, grow from there. But yeah, it's an absolute classic for sure.
And do we have any other surprises or things we want to get out there on the book of wrestling this week?
No, that is it for me.
All right. It's a good time. Yeah, we can just jump straight into the SmackDown. And SmackDown is pretty good. I have some qualms I can kind of get through, but I will start off with I guess I'll have this in mid-rising, and it's the Roman promo to start off the show.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fun, getting Jimmy and him back together, this, that, and the third. But then I'm acknowledging that, they have some work to do in order to take over, to get prepared against the bloodline, the new bloodline. There was some mention of Jay.
Yeah.
Roman was like, no yeet.
Mm-hmm.
So
perfect.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. That's my mid-rising.
For sure. I'm not going to jump all over you, but just because you put him in right, I have that in Primo. And honestly, as a whole, I have this episode in top shelf just because everything worked for me. Like literally just everything. And because I was fighting myself not put KO in Primo. Like he's in mid, but either way, this is Primo for me, what you just described. Mm-hmm. Because just like I felt like that was a Primo, just because this is the first time we're seeing, because Roman hadn't talked yet. The only talking he was doing was with Cody. But now it's like the progression of like he acknowledges that he's not the tribal chief because he's not like, he is a chief. He is not the chief because he doesn't have the Ulafala. And just having Jimmy be the one to like force him to look in the mirror and realize that like, oh yeah, when he like walks off and he's like, I'm the only one in the family who acknowledges you. It's just like, see, that shows you how far we at right now. Because we used to have all the gold and a wise man and everything, and it's just you and me out here. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, when I think that was great storytelling by Jimmy, and great faces. We know Roman has great faces because it's like when Jimmy said that really hit him, and I was like, oh, okay. So I had that in Primo.
Okay, I'm not again. Sometimes like I can put it in Primo. It's just I don't want to jump ahead when I feel like we can take another step up. You know what I'm saying? So it's more so I'm like, all right. When I put something in like mid-rising, it's like, all right, I'm thirsty. Let me get a little bit more. You know
it just felt different. Well, it's just different because it's Roman is forced to acknowledge the different character that Roman is now. That's why I just had it so high. But
I'll let you continue because you're higher on the show overall, I guess.
The one I would have started off with. I mean, I know you started off with Roman, but the one I would have started, Naomi getting a pinfall victory over Nia Jax. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, even though like, because even Judgment Day being there, like when they were there, I was like, okay, this is weird. This doesn't make sense. But then when you're just building on the fact that, okay, I saw them coming there just basically as like avoiding Rhea. And then the fact that Rhea shows up, and I'm not expecting that either. I just thought that was fucking great. And you top it all off with the most deserving woman, arguably, on the entire roster, getting a huge win over one of her best friends too. Yeah, exactly. Over
not even best friends. That's a relative.
Oh yeah, that's family. Yeah, literally.
That's family.
So yeah. I'll be forgetting the Fatu at the back of her name now, but That was Primo. You got thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. You know me. Naomi, spoiler alert, the champion for me this week. Do I wish it was a little bit cleaner? Sure. But hey, you get him how you get him.
Yeah. That's
case,
literally that's literally the only
you get him
thing.
how you get him, and you beat the champ. That means she got a title shot coming her way. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
And she's not gonna win it, but
yeah.
Again, I also like the fact that again, like Naomi and Nia should have deeper ties in story. Because we know who they are. They're family.
Yeah.
And the fact that it never gets acknowledged. Going back to the point of, again, I don't see color, right? We make all this hype when Elimination Chamber is in Perth, Australia, right? And it's like, oh my God, Rhea Ripley is main eventing. Gee, she's hometown, blah, blah, blah. Well, who's the woman that she's going against? Nia Jax. Where's Nia Jax from? Where was she born? Australia. No recognition, right?
Yeah,
no recognition about that, right?
Yep.
Like, same thing. We talk about, Naomi, like, we look at Naomi as a black person. Yes, she's black, and you could put her with Bianca and Jade and Kalani and all that stuff. But you know what? Her last name is Fatu.
Yeah.
She has all the right to be a part of the Bloodline storyline. She should not be looking at Nia.
Hey, that's
like,
I said that 2 years ago. I wanted Nia in the Bloodline.
Yeah, we've been saying that. Like, she should not be talking to Nia like there is no familial relationship.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work because how can this black woman and this Samoan woman be related?
Which
even
is
though
funny.
we know who her husband is.
And even though that's funny too, because also we're not seeing color, right? But the Samoan family is definitely black coded, right? I would say so.
Yeah,
super black coded. So it's like, oh yeah, we don't have necessarily.
Is not even
we have people of color,
black, but you put them with Rick,
they're dark
Kalani,
enough. Yeah,
Kalani, Jade, and Bianca, and it's like one of these motherfuckers doesn't technically fit.
Yeah, right. Just heavily black coded.
But shout out to Naomi. I'm very happy to see you get your title shot. Unfortunately, it will be on SmackDown. So
and unfortunately, your chest will get caved in by your cousin who's about to sit on your chest. So,
I did have. Go ahead. I'll let you continue.
Yep. Like I said, 3 primos for me. LA Knight versus Carmelo. This was the work one that was based, which got us to primo. And there was a point in the match where I'm watching him, and remember, I think it was Asuka when Asuka was wrestling Rhea Ripley for the title, and we both were like, just in unison, we were like, she's so fucking good. Like, just the transition she did, I was like, you see that? Like, that's what Carmelo did to me. Like, and I was like, Carmelo's so fucking good. Like, and it just brought up the thought, LA Knight gets the win, obviously, retains his title, but it just brought up the thought of like, would you rather be Shawn Michaels or The Rock? Just work rate, not on the mic, just work. And because I know they've made the comparison before where, Carmelo is Shawn Michaels and Trick Williams is supposed to be The Rock. So that's kind of where I put it in my head. But
I've never heard Trick Williams as The Rock.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be like, I mean, obviously he's not doing a rip off of him, but if you look at his shirts, the way he dresses, style, he has a different mic skill set. Obviously, nobody's good as Rock, so
nowhere near. I don't know. I'm gonna put this out there. I think Trick has plateaued on his promo skills.
Yeah, but that's not a take at all. I don't think.
I don't think he's the best promo, and I don't think he's gonna get better.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's saying something. You don't think he's going to get better, but
hey,
I mean, he's got some.
People said that about Roman at one point.
No, that's fact. Yeah, because it's infamous when John Cena basically neutered him in the crowd, and he's like, "It's called a promo. You're going to have to do one if you want to be the big dog around here." It's like I remember that shit. So, but yeah, that was just a great work rate match, and fucking.
Yeah, I mean, I
Carmelo spiked himself like RBE back in the day.
I'll have that in primo because I do. To your point, the the athleticism and the sequencing of this match was really done well, and then even the way it finished, where LA Knight I think tried about 2 or 3 times to get the BFD,
Mm-hmm.
and then Carmelo bounces off the ropes, kind of flips over him, and then it just works into LA Knight getting the BFD, and then getting the 1, 2, 3. I also like that Andrade is on the side, and there was one moment where he's just sitting there.
He's just sitting there like this.
One moment, like Carmelo Hayes just like gets knocked out outside the ring, and he's just kind of posted up on the side of the announce table, and then Andrade is all in his face and is like, "Bro, you suck, bro. Blah blah blah. This, that, and the third." And it's just like, all right, like this trio of guys is gonna be fun at wherever it happens at Crown Jewel or Survivor Series. It's gonna be a fun match between the three guys. So, I'll have that as my primo of this. I have a Reggie.
Okay.
And this is continued Reggie from Bad Blood. Continued Reggie. This is just a bad week for Triple H.
The bad blood by Triple H?
This is a bad week for Triple H.
Oh, a bad week. Yeah.
We had a tag team women's match of Jade Cargill and Bianca, Power Buff Girls, versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson.
Yep, of the metaphor.
This is Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson's debut on SmackDown. They are making their way to the ring. And what happens?
KO storms the ring.
KO storms the ring. This is the third segment of the show. Roman came out already. LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes had their match. This is the third segment. These two black women are making their SmackDown debut. Trick Williams on social media had a picture of him with Lash saying, "Shout out to Lash Legend for making her SmackDown debut." This white man decides that, oh, you know what? I'm too pussy to interrupt Roman. I'm too pussy to interrupt
Let me channel my inner Kanye. Channel my inner Kanye. I'm gonna let y'all finish real quick. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let y'all start your match.
In the middle of your introduction to talk about some shit that happened a week ago. You bitch-made pussy-ass nigga.
Which that's where I had that is it should be higher, but because obviously it's forced to be one segment. I see the KO interruption and the match together. I have that as mid-stable because I like obviously the story progression of KO and even how he did it. But as you'll notice in the Notion doc, the first thing I put was he upstaged black women. You ain't had to do it right then against them exactly like you said. You could have done it at any other point in the show. I like that thought of him running in there and being like, oh, hold on a second, I got this. Because even the turn happened off camera. So it makes sense. It's kind of like what they were doing with Duke Hudson down in NXT when, he like kind of lost his mind and then like off camera, like when during commercial breaks, he was like fucking up the set and stuff in NXT and he got suspended and all that stuff. But going back to Black Women's debut, it takes the air out of the sails for me.
The match itself is fine, but you killed it.
Yeah, you took the wind out of the sails because I was fully ready to just hear, Bianca and Jade's themes coming out, just keep the momentum going. And it was like, wait, what? So now when Bianca and Jade are coming down, now we just got, it looks like, when they come back from commercial break and the tag team's just already in the ring. You know what I mean? Because we didn't keep the fucking momentum. So I agree.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's absurd. Again, it's a black Triple H. This is your worst week in 2 years, 3 years that you've taken over, in my opinion. From your comments to your first 2-hour Raw in 12 years, and you pull the old shit out the bag and be like, hey, we're gonna put 10 women on one match for 5 minutes because we have to give up other time for all this other bullshit. The pandering on NXT to, again, Let's have these black women who are making their debut on the main roster get upstaged by this white man who had to hold his entire tongue for an entire week. If it was that important, you should have just came out against Roman.
Yeah.
If it's that important. But no, you, again, keeping this within kayfabe, you a bitch mate.
Mm-hmm.
You bitch. If you was like, oh, I can't come go against Roman. You have so many problems against this nigga. You waited 3 segments. And I'm tired of this shit of him coming out, grabbing the mic, and it's like, I'm not even supposed to be here. And then they cut the mic out. Like, nah, fuck all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all gotta be better than this shit. So that is Triple H, you ran the gauntlet.
That's okay. Reggie week for Triple H just as a whole. I ain't mad at it for sure.
All of it, yeah. So,
yeah.
I'll leave that's my SmackDown thoughts, honestly. That's the biggest thing I took away. Because again, even the Jimmy and the Solo match, okay, yeah. Like we knew, like it's 5 or 4 against 2 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna win this.
Not at all.
So that's my thoughts on SmackDown. That really pissed me off.
Mm-hmm. I get you. Let's move on for the weekend. Finally, we are at AEW WrestleDream predictions, which this is a fucking 10-match like main card match, or I said 10-match match, 10-match pay-per-view on the main card, and doing it all, Jesus. There is so much here.
You're definitely gonna get the win on here.
I don't like. I feel like this is more so not shooting fish in the barrel, whatever the opposite of shooting fish in a barrel is, like because it's so many. So I'm just copying over the
10 cards on here because I only see 5 at the moment. Or we haven't added it yet.
Yeah, I'm about to add it in.
Okay, and
I just pulled up the Wikipedia for it. So
yeah, there's 3 matches that are pre-show, and then so we have 9 technically on the card.
Oh shit, that didn't work. All right, forget that. Either way, we'll just work from the Wikipedia doc. And it's
yeah. So let's go in order of the pre-shows, I guess, just to kind of get this out of the way. Atlantis Jr. Brian Cage, singles match for the Ring of Honor World Championship.
Let's go Brian Cage because I don't know who Atlantis Jr. is. I don't even know if he's
Atlantis Jr. is
he's the champion. He's the champion. That's where I'm like, I haven't seen him because Ring of Honor, they're on Fightful Network. I'm pretty sure they have a different deal, like where you watch Ring of Honor television. So you can only catch Ring of Honor like backstage interviews and vignettes on YouTube. Like there is no actual like in-ring action you're ever gonna see. So it's already hard enough to like predict that stuff unless you're actually watching. So I'm literally just basing it on the fact that I know Brian Cage's name. And I don't know who Atlantis Jr. is. So that could be a free point right there. If we're just going with champions advantage.
We're not counting pre-show. The pre-show is just to kind of get our geeks wet, I guess.
Okay, sure.
Eminem Collection, Mansoor and Mason Madden versus with the TBA versus the Acclaimed.
I was gonna go with the Acclaimed, but I
want to go Mason Mansoor. But I gotta go the Acclaimed.
I was gonna send you the video of I know you've seen the Hey EW, like just a little interview.
I've seen it pop up, and I haven't really like checked it out.
Theirs is absolutely hilarious. They do like a 20-minute interview backstage in character and all this stuff.
You'll love it in general.
Yeah, they're just hilarious. So great. Anna Jay versus Harley Cameron with Saraya at ringside for her. What do you think?
I don't know either one of these women. I'm gonna have to side with the person that has Saraya on her side.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's where I'm going to. I'm actually going that way.
I'm gonna go Anna Jay because you have Saraya on your side. So
yeah, just out of not supporting her.
Yeah, it's just like all right, like you are the it seems like Anna Jay's the underdog in this situation from my lack of knowledge. So Anna Jay, you get the dub.
All right. And time note, we're at an hour 59, 35, almost 2 hours exactly. You're going to chop this up because now we're getting to the real predictions of the real card.
Yep.
Mark Briscoe versus Le Champion, Le Goat, my goat Y2J, Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. I got Mark Briscoe winning this.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jericho has made, and he's champion currently, right?
Mark Briscoe is.
Mark Briscoe is retaining his title. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna go. You can't make comments about his brother and get away with it.
Exactly. But they built it like really well. Like 2 weeks ago, like when they're just saying like, "Yeah, you beat me in a house show," and it came out of left field for me. But I was just like, "All right, like the build's been good." But I still got him winning. Darby Allin versus Brody King.
So I've been seeing this on social. Darby Allin just getting choked out everywhere by Brody King. It's a nice gimmick.
That's kind of Brody's like that was when Malachi Black first reinforced House of Black with Brody King, and he came later. That was kind of like the famous spot when they were in the gauntlet match, and he just like does the hangman choke like over the ropes, and he dangles his body there, and it was like, oh shit! And that's when everybody was like, Brody King's a fucking dog. Like,
but like they be doing it out like public places. Like,
yeah,
this dude like at a baseball game, and they're like, "Hey, that's AEW's Darby." Oh my god, he's getting choked the fuck out. And it's like, yo,
oh shit.
And Darby said something this week where he's talking about he's the face of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Again, hyperbole because everybody says something like that. It's not your company. It's blah blah blah. I'm like, Darby, I can see in a world that yes, you are one of the pillars of AEW. You are homegrown and things of that nature. You are most embodies AEW. I'm giving you the win.
I am following suit also. Outside of interference, I think this is like like Darby has Sammy's resiliency. I would call it like zombie. But he has like a zombie mode where you just can't kill him. And they have that going for him. Like that's his whole thing is that his heart is bigger than everybody else's. So it can't get more obvious than when you're outweighed by 160 pounds. So those go on Darby. Next match, we got Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata for the AEW TNT title. I'm going Jack Perry, retention. Katsuyori Shibata, his closest affiliation is the conglomeration of Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Kyle O'Reilly. That's like his closest friends recently. So they're all faces. They're not going to interfere. Katsuyori Shibata, he's like the other half of like the King of Strong style. Like it was him and Shinsuke that really came up with this shit. But Jack Perry has plot armor. So that's why
that's
Jack
the
Perry's
part
just
is like Jack Perry being part of the elite. Like it's kind of like evolution right now. It's like or Judgment Day. It's you guys are gonna do your thing. Like you're probably gonna retain off of shenanigans, if anything. So far we're even on picks.
I'm feeling pretty. This is the one.
International Championship Triple Threat. Will Ospreay champion Ricochet versus and Konu Konosuke
Takeshita. Yeah.
Takeshita again.
All right. I really want him to win. I really want Konosuke to win, honestly.
Yeah.
But as I look at this card, this is where it's like, we get that feeling every time we're doing PLE predictions. Like, man, where's the title change happening? Because I feel so safe, like, looking at this. Like, I don't know how many title changes is on this, but I want Takeshita to win so bad. Like, I think this is, I could say perfect for him. Like, triple threat, anything goes. He's the heel in this situation. And it was just revealed this week that, it was a direct hit, basically. Don Callis did intend for, Takeshita to fuck him up. So I'm imagining Don Callis is going to interfere again at some point in this match and hand Takeshita is the one person in the Don Callis family. He will not hesitate to use that screwdriver. Like everybody else is like, this isn't me. I can't do it. He's like, oh yeah, stab in the forehead. And I love how vicious he's been. So I'm just gonna cross my fingers and say Will Ospreay and Ricochet cancel each other out. You know, Will Ospreay clearly has the storyline. He's going to get pulled in too many different ways. He's going to be worked to death by Ricochet, but he's going to be storied to death by Konosuke. And Ricochet is obviously too early for him to win, unless you're just obviously just establishing him, putting a rocket on him now, which there's some credence to that. But I'm going to go with Takeshita because it's what I want to see. So I know it's definitely a swing, but I'm going to go with him.
I understand the rationale. I think I probably would be leaning towards your side, but I picked Takeshita to win at the previous PLE, and he lost.
Right.
I'm feeling like I don't want to get burned twice. Everything you said makes perfect sense.
That's just my booking in my head. Like I said, that's where I want it to go. So,
I don't disagree with anything that you just said. It literally could play just out like that. It literally could be Ricochet and Ospreay canceling each other out. My question, though, in my mind is, does Ospreay and Ricochet feel less than without a title on the line? And I'm like, doesn't need a title.
I don't think it needs one. I think the title is only. I think it's more. That's more so just about establishing Ricochet. You know, like he's a new guy, and it's like, all right, he's that good that he should be in the title picture. You know.
I mean, I think it's more so. It's like if you don't have the title, is it just two flippy niggas just flipping? Like, what is the beef?
Yeah.
Other than like, I'm better than you, and you're better. Okay, that's athletics. That's competition.
Yeah.
Like, what is the actual beef without the title?
Mm-hmm.
And so with that said, I think Ospreay is a guy that they want to continue to push. They have value in Ospreay retention.
And not for nothing, I know like the biggest thing against it is the fact that, because I know I shouldn't be picking Takeshita, it's just what I want to see, but it's the fact that like you forget how quickly, oh yeah, MJF had the international title for like a 4-month run. He basically like stole that, or not 4 months. It was like 2 months, 2.5 months. So Will's already dropped it. You know what I mean? So it's hard to believe that it's like, all right, you're making him this great, but he's dropping the title all the time. Like, but anyway, we got the Young Bucks versus Private Party for the tag team championship.
Yeah,
they've been doing their work with Private Party like ever since Moxley came back and he was like, "What the hell have y'all been doing?" You know what I'm saying? Like y'all are in the same spot you were 5 years ago. They've really put them over in these recent weeks, trying to establish them as like a serious threat, serious act. What do you think?
I think it's going to be the same thing as the Jack Perry. I just don't trust anything that has to involve the elite.
The elite, yeah. Yeah,
I think we're in like Judgment Day. Sorry, I'm trying to copy and paste the card into the Notion doc. I think we're in the same lane as like I said, Judgment Day, Evolution, where like these factions are going to find a way to remain on top. So I'm gonna go Bucks.
Yeah, I'm going Bucks as well. Next, we have Mariah. Oops, sorry.
Are you typing yours in?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. And this is the one where I say, like, as I'm looking at it, as I was looking at the card, I'm like, okay, maybe Willow does win this.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was like, but when I said it before, with like, as I look at the length of the card, and I'm like, okay, who's actually like, where's the title changes at? This is where I'm like, okay, Willow could win this. You brought it up earlier, like, what's the chance you give her? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is it too quick? I would say it's too. If anything, I think you could establish, like, if Toni Storm's going to have more time off, I think obviously getting the belt off of Mariah, it gives her like another pathway where it's like you can establish this rivalry around the belt itself, where Toni Storm and her were story driven. You know, it came from it didn't involve the title originally until it evolved into that. So I think, I guess, I won't say you convinced me, but just thinking about it, I'll go Willow because, like I said, Mariah's been kind of flat up to this point. So having this face champion, having like an opportunity to like take her game to the next level, like I think it could be the perfect time for a transitional champion or like a like her Damian Priest run. You know, Damian just had it for what, 4 months, 5 months. I think we could get that out of Willow right now. I feel like the only thing about that is like I feel like you might be pulling the carpet from underneath Mariah because you're doing the same thing with her. You're stopping her title reign at 2 months where it should be 4, you know, but it's just like I like both these women. And right now, Willow is just hotter right now. So
as much as I kind of feel like I think Willow can pull this off and there could be a Tony interference. Maybe I'm just psyching myself out on just like where, at least how we have it listed out, where this match is listed on the card. That if I say that Toni Storm is going to come in and interfere in this match and help Willow win this match, and again, this is assuming that this card goes in order in the way that we have it listed.
Yeah.
The next match is Hangman versus Jay White. WrestleDream's in Seattle. We haven't seen Swerve in a month.
He's been doing a lot of press though. He ain't been on AEW, but he's been around doing the rounds for
in his hometown. The pay-per-view's in his hometown. We haven't seen him on television since the last PLE. Seems like he could come in and interfere in that match as well. So, again, to have this match have back-to-back matches that have interference and cost the champion, cost the match for the other person, I'm gonna go Mariah May. I think you could build upon it, but Willow can get it back. But I think it's probably happening a little too quick.
Yeah,
and you could probably switch this at like their January pay-per-view. So I'm gonna go Mariah May. Who are you going with?
For sure. Willow.
Okay.
And then next up, we got Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. And you already said the booking that I had in my head too. Swerve's going to be in this match, right? I mean, we both believe that. And Jay White just returned. So for that, even just that reason, I'm like, Jay White needs to win, obviously. Adam Page has actually been active and putting on awesome matches this year. So Jay needs the win.
Yeah, I got Jay White.
Okay. Hologram versus, I'm calling the base god, the Beast Mortos, in a 2 out of 3 falls match. He's fucking sick. I wish I knew, like, they're both luchadors and they don't talk. So I wish I knew, like, kind of what their motivations were. But it's a 2 out of 3 falls match. And just because Hologram got vignettes and stuff, I'm going to go with Hologram. Like, we actually saw, like, before he even debuted, they were like, oh, Hologram's coming. So clearly they want to make him a big deal. So I'm going to go with him for that reason.
All right, yeah. You know more than me about him. I'm going to shack him at the moment and be like, I am sorry. I am not familiar with your game. I'm going to go to Beast Morto.
Nice. Okay. This is about to be a clean sweep on your part.
I'm familiar with him. I'm not even that familiar with him. Like, I've seen him just 2 weeks ago for the first time. I'm like, all right, that nigga nice. So
yeah.
I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, the main event, Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Is he breaking Moxley's neck, or is he kicking his fucking head in? Or do you think Bryan gets his neck broken?
The question is it's almost similar to Mariah May. It's like, how long do we keep the title on Daniel Bryan?
This is where I think, because obviously, women are second-class citizens in wrestling. which is why, like, if Mariah May was to lose her title after a short reign, it would be no, I want to just say more likely, but I guess we're more used to, like, I guess women getting screwed out of spots like that. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's more difficult for them to, like, thread the needle for whatever reason for women's championship runs and storylines. Whereas obviously we know way more care is taken of the men's main event. This is the men's main event. Care will be taken, and I believe Bryan Danielson is not retiring yet.
Yeah.
I think it can elevate to the point where, you know, Moxley and Swerve are the two most violent men in AEW. Moxley plus some stipulations, exploding death match or whatever the fuck it'll be, he'll get it done. And that'll be the big send off for him. It don't got to be exploding death match, but it'll be something like where, you know, the nerve endings and Bryan Danielson's neck just can't take it anymore, you know?
I'm going to go. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Bryan Danielson as well. I think Wheeler Yuta makes some type of save to kind of have this kind of help him retain it. Because, again, this has been about 3-4 weeks since Moxley and this faction have been, you know, terrorizing Danielson and, you know, his life. And I don't think Danielson's got a dub in their interactions.
Yeah. No, he hasn't. Since they've been,
So,
like, because the only thing you would say is a bit of net positive was, like, the promo. But obviously Moxley wasn't there at that point in time.
Yeah, I think this is something that they'll get a dub. It won't be clean. Wheeler Yuta will have some type of impact into it, possibly. I'm not sure if he's even healthy enough on kayfabe, you know, watch, you know, to be there or not. But I think it's a little too early.
Yeah, for sure.
Give it another month or two. So we'll both agree there at Danielson. So right now we differ on 1, 2, 3 matches.
Mm-hmm.
So we will not have a tie. We will have there probably could be a there won't be a tie. We'll have a win.
No. Hey, I'll get a point. I'll get a point myself for calling your win right now.
Which one do you think I got is going to be the deciding?
Well, for sure, I would say. I mean, I understand that it's super early to take the belt off of Mariah, especially with that entire storyline of, you know, Tony storming her. But as I've told you before, my issue with it is, like, all right, we built up the point where she won it, and now she hasn't been. She's cooled off way too much, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, she should, like, I would believe, like, she should be. I should feel about Mariah the same way that I felt about Tony Storm, because they were so intertwined, and I do not feel that way. I don't feel that way at all about Mariah. So. But I feel, but Willow gives me those warm fuzzies. Like, and I told you, like, you almost, like, had a conniption, remember? Because I was, like, trying to invent shit. When she first turned on Tony, I was like, this is the best shit ever. Like, I've been waiting for this shit, and it's early as fuck. But it's just like, yeah, what are y'all doing with Mariah, man? So that's the only reason.
That's why I was like, yo, you trying to put a presidential on the first episode of the goddamn show. And I'm like, nigga. Just wait. That's
before I understood the like where our ranks was and shit. You know, we were still getting our sea legs. That's all. But yeah. You got? I have the huge Percy's. You got the champions of the week though.
All right. So you guys makeup duty next week, but this is my makeup duty for last week because I was sick and I didn't have any. So, we'll start with the first one and we'll take this back to Raw. I have no idea where this is from technically, but I feel like this is like from a Zeus show or something like that. But this is called the "You Cannot Trick Me" title belt to Braun Breaker for spearing Jey Uso, because as soon as you said last week, he came out, he shook Jey Uso's hand, and then dipped out in there like, oh, looks like Braun Breaker's turned face. You know what the first thing that popped in my head? I'm a genetic freak.
Yeah.
You can't stop me. You know what I'm saying? This is a Steiner at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I was like, bruh, this ain't... Again, the first thing I was like... Again, it's got a Steinerism. I'm a genetic freak.
Yep.
He ain't going. You think he's just gonna lose and then just handshake, walk away? Give me a break. That's why, my man, I gotta find out where this is from.
You cannot trick me. You cannot trick me.
Yeah. Could be a Zeus show for sure, or Tubi or
I have
something.
no idea where
Yeah.
that's from, but that shit is hilarious. You cannot trick me.
It's funny because as you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, the Scott Steinerism. He's like, you should have known there's 166 and 2/3 chance that I was gonna be spearing Jey Uso again. Like,
I'm a
but yeah,
genetic
and for
freak.
me, I was just like, what's going on here? But yeah,
The numbers add up, and they spell disaster for Jey Uso. That's all I'm saying. And then the other champion of the week, we called this out for SmackDown. It's the Rose from Titanic. It's been 84 years beating Naomi for beating Nia Jax on SmackDown because, as we've mentioned for the entirety of this podcast, we are Naomi stans. And we've just been questioning since he's returned at the beginning of this year. Why are you going to be returning if you're just going to be taking L's and not getting any significant wins of any nature?
exactly.
And like we said, even though you beat Nia and you're probably going to end up losing your title match, it's the fact that you got a win in significance. So for that, you get the Rose from Titanic. It's been 84 years. Title belt.
It's been 84 years.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out to Naomi. I hope you somehow pull up the upset, but it probably won't happen. But nonetheless, you are a champion of the week.
Absolutely. Shout out to our new segment of special guest, and shout out our space age correspondent Joe, who is on this episode with us.
Yeah. Shout out. Learned a lot.
And people that was like turned into this, like that actually picked up and are like, oh, this is my wrestling pod I fuck with. They'll be like, what the hell is this? The first whole 25 minutes.
Hey, but it was a good conversation.
Yeah, for
Anything
sure.
that you're looking forward to this coming week in wrestling, world of wrestling?
The exact opposite, just because I think the thing that's sitting on my mind is Triple H and just Crown Jewel, where I'm like, it's not relevant. You know what I mean? So it's more so having the opposite effect on me. But yeah, obviously I give it WrestleDream. That would be my most anticipated, that international championship match.
Yeah.
I mean, that's today technically, not next week, but you know, we work with how we live. So
Yeah. I can't think of what I'm looking forward to on wrestling next week. I don't know what's top of mind. So it's going to be interesting. Nonetheless. But I think that's it for episode 14 of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast.
for sure. Follow us on socials. Twitch, TikTok, you know what I'm saying? YouTube, all that stuff. We're the Wrestling Re-Up everywhere. Send us an email at thewrestlingreup@gmail.com.
And soon enough, I'm going to try to, I've been super slacking, but definitely you will be finding us on all podcasting platforms. So you can get the audio only version of this podcast as well. But that's just me being slacking. I just need to pick a goddamn podcasting hosting company so we could just start uploading our shit there. So
yeah, we'll
get that done soon enough. But that is it from the Habesha Haze to the French Fry Pro.
Off the top rope.
It's the Wrestling Re-Up. We'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Deuces.